Alright, welcome back to another episode of Dirty Dave's Garage. Today we're going to be taking the differential off 2005 Chevy Silverado. This one has a locking differential. We're going to take that off, clean it up, and put some fresh differential fluid in, gear oil, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But we'll get the truck in the air and we'll be right back. Alright, so the first thing you want to do before you do anything is make sure you can get the fill plug loose. Now I hit mine with some Kano Coil penetrating lube a few days ago. Got a little salt up here. It snowed since then, but it just uses a half-inch drive, I believe. Got one here. We're going to make sure it fits in there. Might have to clean some of the crud out to get it to go in all the way, but that looks right. So let me get something and scrape that out, clean it out a little, and then we're going to see if we can get it out of there before we go any further. Alright, so with the help of a little bit of our trusty Kano Aero Coil penetrating lube, the best lube ever made, puts PB Blaster to shame. Put a shot of that on there. We'll use a little extension on the wrench, but I was able to crack it loose gently, and I'm working the plug out, so I know we'll be able to fill it. So I'm not going to pull it all the way out just yet. We're going to go ahead and start loosening up the differential and getting that loose so we can drain all the fluid out. Got a catch pan there with a top hat funnel over top. If I think about it, I'll put these links to the Kano Coil and the top hat that I bought, just sitting on top of a regular oil drain pan. But we'll use that to catch the gear oil as it comes out. So hang tight and we'll be right back. Alright, before I start pulling nuts out, I'm going to take a little steel brush and just knock all the rust off so my sockets fit on there good. I got my catch pan under here to catch the debris. We're going to clean this pan up once we get it off. We'll hit it with some brake clean, get it nice and clean. If I can get it clean and dry enough, I might even put a coat of paint over it. I got some black wheel paint. We'll just touch it up, hit it with the sandblaster real quick, clean it up. It looks oily. That's because I put some fluid film under the undercarriage of the truck just a few weeks ago. Since winter's setting in here, I hit my my cars that I drive in the winter with that fluid film. It's just a rust preventative. It's a natural product. Won't harm rubber or your hoses, things like that. But it's just, you know, you have to apply it every year. It washes off eventually. But it's just a wet, natural-based, non-toxic, oily coating that covers everything up. But nice thing about it is, not only does it keep things from rusting any worse than they might already be, it keeps your bolts lubricated, keeps them from rusting up. So when you do have to work on something, hopefully you won't have a hard time getting them out. Alright, so I knocked the rust loose. I'm going to go get the right socket. As soon as I get that, I'll tell you what size it is. We'll start pulling these out. Getting ready to pull this differential cover off. Alright, so it looks like we're going with a 13 mil ratchet. I'm going to use an electric ratchet gun just to speed up the process here. Start getting these out. Just a reminder, when you get to the top, leave the top bolt in to hold the pan, just loosen it up a little. To hold the differential cover. Okay. Make sure you got a new gasket. I've got one ready to go. We'll just hand thread it back in. Let me go ahead and pull this one out too. Alright, grab a screwdriver. We'll see about cracking that loose. Let it start draining. Alright, let's see if we can get this thing loose. There it goes. Right into our pan as planned. Alright, we're going to let that drain out, and I'll take those last couple bolts off the top and go ahead and pull the pan away. So we'll be back in a few. Alright, so we got our differential cover down. Took the last couple bolts out. Just want to show y'all what we're going to do. We're going to spray it off with brake cleaner, both sides. It's got a magnet in it, and you're going to want to make sure that gets good and clean because it's got all kinds of goop on it, metal shavings and whatnot. But we're going to spray this out, get it good and clean, spray the back off, and let it dry. Scrape all the old gasket off. Got to make sure you get it off the top too. Just be careful. You don't want to use anything too rough. If you have to, after you scrape it, take some Scotch-Brite, some green Scotch-Brite if you have some stubborn spots, and try to knock it off with that. But we're going to work on that. We're going to get this pan, this differential cover cleaned up, and we'll be back. Alright, so we've scraped off most of the gasket material. There might be a little bit left on there. I'm going to use one of these air tools with a little buffing pad on it. They're just little 3M pads you can put on, little scratch pads. If you don't have an air tool, you can get one of these and put on your drill. Kind of do the same thing. Just don't grind away at it carelessly. Just use a light touch and clean off the material. Let's see how it does here. See if I can show you. Let's start on one corner. And you can see how it's getting nice and shiny. You just want to make sure there's no old gasket material on there and everything's smooth. No scratches or gouges. Alright, I'm not going to bore you with this. I'm going to go around and clean it. And then I'm going to hit the outside when I'm done. Then I might even sandblast it and then wipe it down real good and put a coat of paint on it. So, we'll be back. Alright, I got my cover off, cleaned it up, and I threw a coat of paint on it. I'm waiting for it to dry, but I just wanted to mention, when you go to scrape the gasket off the actual differential, I put a clean paper towel up there just to cover all the internals up so no debris falls down in there. You want to keep all the crud out of there if you can. But we've got that scraped off. I polished it off with the buffing wheel a little bit. Still a little bit dirty, but it's smooth to the touch. Some of that exterior corrosion, it's not a big deal. It's not going to affect anything. The gasket's going to go on the inside there where it's smooth. So we should be in good shape. So as soon as the cover's dry, we'll come back and we'll put the new cover and gasket on and get this buttoned up and get ready to fill it and talk about the fluid. Just another quick note, while you got it all apart, take a good look at your teeth. Make sure you don't see any unnecessary wear or breakage. This one looks very much brand new. It looks like it's in good shape. So no concerns there. Make sure no crud fell in while you got everything apart before you put your new gasket and cover back on. So I've looked around. A little bit of dirt did get on there, and I wiped it off with a paper towel. Just make sure you get all that grit out. You don't want any foreign crap in there before you button it up. Okay, so we put our gasket on. What I did was I put one bolt through the top bolt in through the gasket. You have to move this bracketry out of the way. Got the first bolt in, just screwed it in a few screws, then put a few of the other bolts in just to hold everything in place. But we got to take this one back out because it actually goes over this bracket, like so. And this goes over top. And we'll get our screw back in there. But I'm just going to hand tighten all these. When we're ready to really tighten it down, we're going to go with a crisscross pattern. The torque specs are like 30 pounds, 30 foot-pounds. One more thing is I take the bolts and I just give them a quick wipe before I run them in case there's any grit on them. Just give them a quick wipe down before you get them started. But I'm probably not going to break out the torque wrench. I'm just going to do it by hand. And again, we're going to crisscross them in a crisscross pattern. So like if we start here, we'll go across to that one, then we'll go to here, then to here, and here, and here, and just keep crisscrossing evenly. Tighten them about halfway the first round, and then fully tighten them the second time around. You can torque it if you want. Like I said, I'm not going to. I've never had a problem before just doing it by hand. But your option. Alright, we got all our bolts hand started. Get them tightened. Make sure they're not going in crooked or cross threading or anything. And we'll be back. Okay, we're in the home stretch. We got our differential buttoned up, put the bolts back in with a new gasket. I did not use gasket sealer or any Permatex or anything. I hate that stuff. If you don't need it, don't use it. It should be okay. Worst comes to worst, I'll have to pull it off and put a new gasket on. They're only $6, but scraping that stuff off between changes is a pain in the butt. So we're going to go without it and pray for the best. Haven't had problems before with that. But when it comes to gear oil on the GM, you know, the Chevys, GM trucks, most of them that have the G80 differential, it has a locking Eaton differential in the back. It's not a limited slip differential, so you don't need to add any friction modifiers. Now, I tried to find gear oil that didn't have any. And it was tough to find because almost all of them have some. A little bit's not going to hurt. As long as it's GL5 compatible, you should be okay. Or you can go to the dealership and get the grape smelling stuff that they sell. It's just really expensive. But I just picked up some 75-90 gear lube. You can go heavier if you want. I'm not going to. You might get a little better gas mileage using the lighter, but this is okay to use. And it doesn't get too thick during the winter. It should take like 2.5 to 2.75 quarts. And to be honest, I don't think I have enough. I'm going to go ahead and pour in what I got, and you want it to be about a ½ inch below your finger, probably about just above where this line is here. You should be able to stick your finger in and feel it down below. You don't want it to run out. That's what I've found with my research. So you don't want to overfill it. Probably won't hurt anything, but do it like the book says and you know you're not going to be in trouble. So I'm going to get some oil poured in here and we'll check it, and I'll come back when we're getting ready to check it. Just to show you, you buy your gear oil in these bottles like this. Clip the top off, comes with a little cap so you can cap it. You just push it up, start squeezing it in. I already got about 1.5 bottles in there. I'm hoping this one's going to be enough. This was a full bottle. But let me finish squeezing this in and we'll be back. Alright, so we got it where we want it to be. I'll stick my finger in here. It's just touching the end of my finger there. So it's down like probably just above this little bracing, this line here. We're going to take our plug back, wipe it off good. Put it back in. Make sure you don't cross thread it. Take your time. And to tighten it up, get your ½ inch wrench, put it in there. I use an extension on mine. may not need to, but I got an extension on it. So I'm going to tighten that up, and that's it. We're good to go. That's how you change your differential fluid, and hopefully this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. Again, check the description. I'll put the couple things I used on there that came in handy, like the Kano oil. That stuff's hard to find. I've always ordered it online. And the top hat for your oil drain pan, so you don't get oil all over the place. Those things come in handy. I'll put a link in my description for those if you're interested. Make it easy to find it. Pick one up off Amazon. But hopefully this helps, and we'll see you next time on Dirty Dave's Garage. Hey, one last thing. If you like our videos, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button down below. Appreciate everybody that's been watching, and hope to see you next time. Take care.